Welcome back to I'm Just a Fan. It's your host, Ben. And today we're going to be talking about the wild card weekend for the NFL. It finally wrapped up last night. And when I look at my picks, I went 4-2. You can look back at that in the preview video. So I had a decent weekend when it comes to the picks aspect. But overall, I just wanted to kind of highlight each of these games, just go into a little bit of detail, go into some of the stories that I found the most interesting, because this really was such an interesting weekend for football. Let's start down in Carolina with the first game. The Rams ended up winning 34-31 in a complete thriller against the Panthers. The Rams had to have a game-winning drive with about almost 40 seconds left just to win the game. A nice passing touchdown from Matt Stafford, so he did at least get it done. But man, this is not what I was expecting, or I think the rest of the country was expecting. When you look at the spread heading into the game, it was at minus 10.5 for the Rams. That is incredible. That means that they were expected to win by over a touchdown. That is about as blatantly disrespectful as you can get from a bookmaking standpoint when you're setting odds for a game. But it was rightfully so going into the game. I even said I thought LA was going to beat them by multiple touchdowns just because the last matchup really was dependent on Matt Stafford throwing 2 interceptions, one of those being a pick six, which really flipped that game and resulted in a Carolina win. But we saw a similar script today, on the weekend, and it really was just pure chaos pretty much from the end of the second quarter on. It was 17-7, then we went to halftime, and things completely flipped once we got to the second half. Before we get into the Rams, I want to talk about the Panthers because I really feel like the Panthers were the ones that stole the show. Yes, they didn't win the game, but I really think that they were the main storyline of this game, and they really surprised me. I did not think that the Panthers were going to have enough firepower in this game to consistently keep up with LA, and again, they proved me wrong. They honestly were looking the way that I thought they were going to look, and that really the first quarter and the first little part of the second quarter, I mean, that offense just looked terrible. Bryce Young was throwing in an interception. He was missing, open throws. The offense just wasn't clicking. You're fumbling on special teams. I thought that it was over. I thought it was over, but it was really just the fact that the Panthers fought back, and now I remember correctly, they did score a touchdown before half, so I'm pretty sure it was 17-14 going into the half. And I was like, okay, we have a little bit of a game. And that's what was so crazy to me was the fact that the Rams, honestly, they dominated the first half, but they were not even up. They weren't up by that much. Again, they were up, but they weren't up by as much as it should have been. And I just, again, want to give credit to Bryce Young. He didn't have the best stat line, but still, he showed me a lot. And let's go look at his stat line right now. Taking a look at Bryce Young's stat line now, Bryce Young was 21 for 40, 264 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, and also had a rushing touchdown as well. Look, Bryce Young at times was not the best in this game, but when it mattered the most, he stepped up. I mean, he led Carolina on that drive to get the, at the time, game-winning touchdown to Coker. He was, again, keeping them in the ball game, especially in the second half. And I just like seeing that he, again, continues to be a gamer. Look, this guy, obviously you can see from a height standpoint, is not where he needs to be NFL-wise, even from a weight standpoint. But again, he doesn't let that get him down. He continues to grind. He was hitting his receivers. I mean, Coker and Tet had a great day. They had a fantastic day. And I just love that Young at least stepped up in the moment. And again, he looked shaky to start, but it's all about how you finish. And he really earned a ton of respect for me yesterday, or again on the weekend. I keep saying yesterday. He earned a ton of respect for me over the weekend. And the fact that he was at one point almost out-dueling the MVP potentially was just a crazy thing to just comprehend. So I want to give a ton of credit to Bryce Young because, again, I was doubting him in this game. I think a lot of other people were. And he really stepped up and really, I mean, you can make the argument, almost played a better game at times than Matt Stafford. Like I said, the Panthers receivers really did a number on the Rams secondary. Coker, 9 receptions for 134 and a touchdown. Tet McMillan, 5 receptions for 81 yards. Look, this is something I want to talk about with the Rams, and now we're going to go to the Rams. Look, the Rams secondary is vulnerable. We've been seeing this against Atlanta. We saw it against Seattle as well. Now we're seeing it against the Panthers, and we've seen that now twice. Now, it was a good matchup for them because the Rams have a lot of smaller corners, and especially Tet. Tet is just going to win a lot of those matchups. But I think this is something that the Rams need to be concerned about moving forward, just from a standpoint of, look, there are easy ways to exploit this defense, and it's really by consistently attacking the outside of it. And I mean, they're only going to be playing better receivers moving forward. So I am curious to see how that defense does, adapt and just really try to, I guess, make some changes moving forward, because the tape is out. The tape is out, and this definitely can be exploited. And again, if they get the wrong matchup, it could be an ugly day. The Rams were a mixed bag for sure. They were very good offensively at times. It was very flow dependent. Again, in the first half, they looked like they were getting it going. I mean, Puka Nacua finished with 10 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. He did really, really well. Devontae Adams also did a pretty good job. But then, once we got to the second half, things kind of changed. Stafford, after hitting his hand, I forget which hand it was, he just didn't look like the same quarterback. He really didn't. But yes, he still made the clutch play and led the Rams to the drive. So I'm not really going to get on him. But there was a point in the game, I would say really in the third quarter, where he couldn't do anything. I mean, I remember his first drive coming out of the third quarter. It was just straight incompletions, 4 incompletions or 3 incompletions, whatever it was. It was just ridiculous. But we'll have to see, again, how banged up is his hand moving forward. That's something I'm sure that we will hear about more as the week goes on. But man, they're going to Chicago now. That's something to worry about, just because, again, it's going to be freezing. So that is something to be concerned about. But again, if anyone can do it, Stafford can. This guy's been doing it for years. I would have a ton of faith with him, a ton of faith in him if you were a Rams fan moving forward. The last thing I have to say about the Rams is, again, the special teams issues continue to show up. Look, it was that block punt. It was just the block punt. I don't know how serious this is going to be moving forward. Again, they already fired their special teams coordinator, but that was something to watch. Again, if that can be exploited even once in a game, that can turn a game. The Rams need to clean this up. It's going to cost them at some point if they do not get this fixed. And I really could see this either being, again, maybe a missed field goal, a bad snap, a bad hold, not blocking a gunner on a punt. Any of these things could result in a potential loss. So the Rams really need to get it together on that side of the football. So now we get to the second game. The Bears end up winning 31-27. Again, they do it again. I said that the Bears, look, I had the Bears winning, but I said they could not put themselves in a hole like they did a couple weeks ago in Chicago against the Packers. It just wasn't going to fly in the playoffs, and yet they shut me up again. And they get it done in one of the craziest wins ever. But let's start with the beginning of the game. The Packers were dominating. They were up 21-3 at half. Jordan Love had 3 touchdown passes. The offense was just clicking on all cylinders, specifically in the passing game. Chicago's offense couldn't get anything going other than their opening drive. A lot of questionable decisions from Ben Johnson, especially on those 4th down calls. I'm surprised people don't talk about it more. I guess it's just because, again, that they won. But I feel like if the Bears would have ended up losing that game, that was something that we were going to have to be coming back to, because some of those calls were egregious. I really don't know how he got away with it. But again, the Bears won. I can't hate on it. But some of those calls were just very suspect, in my opinion. Then we get to the second half. The Packers, again, really couldn't do anything other than the golden touchdown. And that's all that they got. But it just wasn't enough. Again, this has been the story for the Packers. How many leads have they blown now? I'm not going to remember every single one, but the one against Chicago a couple weeks ago, the one in Denver, I can't remember all of the other ones, but those are the ones that come to my mind, and I know there are more. The Packers have done this a lot this year, and it's kind of been the story of their season, and in my opinion, this falls on coaching. If an issue like that continues to happen, it's a coaching issue. I don't know if LaFleur just gets way too conservative in the second half. I don't know what it is, but he really seems to struggle in these moments, specifically this year. And then in the fourth quarter, Chicago woke up. They were down 21-9, and then Caleb Williams, like he does, or like he's done multiple times this year, turns it on. Mr. Iceman, again, down 21-9. They end up winning the game. That throw to Odunze on 4th and 8 was one of the best throws I've ever seen in NFL history. That was fantastic just for, again, the moment and just the fact that he rifled that ball. He pretty much was throwing it off of almost his back foot. I don't know how he got it in there. Such a tight window. The throw to DJ Moore as well to take the lead was fantastic. And you got to give credit to the Chicago defense. They were getting shredded. Yes, they did let up another touchdown in the second half. But other than that, they kept the Bears in the game, and that's all they needed to do. Again, 21-9 is not that big of a lead, especially in the NFL. So they did their job, in my opinion. Look, did they get cooked at times? For sure. But, my God, they made some plays in that second half, kept them in the game. What a win for Chicago. Super happy for the city. They deserve it. Against your biggest rival, your first playoff win in 15 years. You now finally have a quarterback. Man, I just couldn't imagine being a Bears fan right now. You guys got to be buzzing. Now we go to the third game. The Bills ended up winning 27-24. This was my first loss of my predictions. I had the Jags winning this game, and the reason is I felt more confident about the Jags overall as a team than compared to the Josh Allen-led Buffalo Bills. And my main reason was that I believed in Jacksonville's defense being able to stop the run, which they did, and we'll get into. But it still wasn't enough to contain Josh Allen. I mean, this guy is by far the best quarterback in the league. It's really not a question at this point. Again, 1 passing touchdown, 2 rushing touchdowns, all while doing this with a messed up, I think one of his fingers was messed up. The knee injury was brutal, and he potentially had a concussion. They said he didn't, but still, he got dinged up a little bit. I mean, the guy is just a warrior, and it's not like he's thrown to that many people either. Shakir had a decent day, but other than that, that's it from a receiving standpoint for Buffalo, and they continue to get it done. And again, mind you, James Cook had 46 rushing yards. Like I said, I believed in that Jacksonville defense to shut him down, and they did, and the Bills still won the game. The tush push was so effective, especially at the end of the game, and I just want to give the Bills a ton of credit for getting this win, your first win, I think, in 34 years on the road as a franchise, so you have to be ecstatic about that. When we look at the Bills' defense, I have to give a ton of credit to their secondary. Yes, I know one of their corners has been playing really well, but I thought the overall secondary did a really, really good job, especially of, again, just making a lot of throws for Trevor Lawrence on Sunday. Very, very tight. They made a lot of tight windows for him, and, I mean, one of those resulted, well, there were 2 interceptions, but one of those resulted in a pick just from it being deflected. Again, Buffalo, you guys stepped up. I doubted the team. I didn't doubt Josh Allen, but I doubted the rest of the team, and they still got a dub. I want to give a ton of credit to Buffalo for this one. This was a brutal loss to the Jags. Look, the Jags were playing with house money. No one thought the Jags would be this good this year, and I saw the Jags going far. I mean, beating Denver in Denver was one of the bigger wins of their season this year, and that's when I really started to believe the passing game was getting going, the running game was getting going, the defense was clicking on all ends, but a couple things burned them. Number one, it was not getting any points out of the drive from the Ray Davis fumble, the Trevor Lawrence being a little short on that sneak. That was brutal. Again, getting no points with that type of field position is just going to kill you in the playoffs. And then, of course, the guy that hasn't missed really any seriously, important field goals this year, and he's made some very, very long ones, misses a field goal right before half. I mean, let's say they even get 6 points. Let's say they even get 6 points from that field goal and that drive with the fumble, or you even get a touchdown. Regardless, you're going to win the game with that amount of points. It would have been enough to beat Buffalo. So it's just brutal. I thought Trevor Lawrence played okay. He had 3 touchdown passes, but he had 2 picks, 18 for 30. He missed a couple throws, though, and that's where you want to just see him be a little bit more dialed in. But the fact that he kept them in the game, I thought, again, he did a decent job. It wasn't great, but I am very proud of Trevor Lawrence's development this year. Very excited to see him under Cohen moving forward because I feel like he finally found something that worked for him, and I'm excited to see how that translates into the 2026 season. On to the 4th game of the wild card. The 49ers beat the Philadelphia Eagles 23-19. I got this one wrong. I had the Eagles winning. And again, if you haven't seen my video on this game, I was at the game. I'm an Eagles fan. So I'm going to try to I'll be as unbiased as possible here. But I just want to give, again, credit to San Francisco for doing this with the type of injuries that they were sustaining all year and just doing what they did again. Kittle gets hurt as well. Like, that was just ridiculous. So the fact that they ended up winning in that fashion was huge for them. And again, they got the game started early with a great drive, a ton of yak from Robinson. But then Philadelphia does respond. The Eagles ended up having a decent lead at half. It wasn't anything crazy, but still, you go up. I think it was either 13-6 or 13-10, if I remember correctly. I can't remember at this exact time, but the Eagles were up. And they responded with 2 touchdowns of their own going into the second half. And that's where everything again fell apart for Philadelphia like it has all year. The second half woes for this offense continued, and it actually ended up resulting in them losing the game. They only had 6 points in the second half. It just wasn't enough. A great call from Kyle Shanahan to open up the fourth quarter with the Juwan Jennings pass to CMC, got them the lead. Then the Eagles took the lead back, but then the Niners again score on a great drive. And again, what's even more impressive is that the Niners were battling themselves. Purdy threw 2 interceptions to Quinyon Mitchell, all-pro corner, and it still wasn't enough for the Eagles to get any points generating. And again, that's just why I think it was such a gutsy win for San Francisco. You're down, again, all these players. You're in Philadelphia. You just lost the potential for the 1 seed the week before. The Eagles have a full week of rest. You didn't. And you guys still go into Lincoln Financial Field and shut me and the other 70,000 people up. It was just extremely impressive. My questions for Philadelphia moving forward are, look, you got to get a new offensive coordinator. Who's it going to be? And is that A.J. Brown's last game? Was that his last game? I personally don't want it to be A.J. Brown's last game. I know how much of a X factor he is for this Eagles offense, but at the same time, I can be honest. He put a lot of, eyes on his situation. I don't think he handled a lot of situations right this year, and we'll see if that's something that the organization can come past or can look past and move forward with. But I don't know. That's something we'll have to see. Definitely let me know what you guys think, because it seems to be that the media and the overall national conversation is that he's getting traded, but I don't know if that's happening, honestly. On to the fifth game of the wild card. It was the New England Patriots beating the Chargers 16-3 in New England. I got this one right. I did have the Patriots winning. I thought it'd be a little closer, but man, oh man, that New England defense showed up, and I guess I underestimated how bad the Chargers offensive line is. I knew it was bad, but man, they were just getting Herbert killed. They were getting just absolutely dominated. It pretty much just destroyed the overall game plan that the Chargers had. And again, man, Herbert, man, I just feel bad for this guy. This guy continues to lose in the playoffs. Some games are his fault, but this one, I don't know if I can say it is. Look, did he play great? No. But at the same time, when you have those receivers that are barely getting any separation, and then that offensive line letting you get hit all year and a ton again, it was just really, really hard to watch. And it's tough because I don't know when he's going to get that win. The team needs to improve. He's in a stacked division. We'll just have to see. The New England defense, though, dominated the Chargers. Like I said, 207 total yards allowed by the Chargers. The Chargers were 1 for 10 on third down, 1 for 3 on fourth. They had 6 sacks allowed, including a fumble loss for New England. It was just too much for them to overcome. And again, I don't even think that the New England offense played really that well. Now, again, they were going against a pretty good unit themselves in LA, but they did enough in the second half. Drake May looked better in the second half and finally finished the drive with a touchdown. It was just enough to get past them. We'll see if this flies against Houston moving forward, but I would say it was a decent win for the Pats. You did enough. That's all you really need to do in the playoffs, and you at least now have Drake May's first playoff game out of the way. It's over. You never have to think about it again, and he didn't lose the game like Herbert. Herbert's still looking for that first win. May got it done on his first try. Doesn't even have to think about it. So I think that's a huge mental aspect for the Patriots moving forward. The last wild card game was last night. It was the Houston Texans beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh 30-6. And I didn't see it going like this. I had the Texans winning, but I thought it would be a lot closer because I thought that the defense of the Steelers was going to be able to give Houston some problems. And there were some problems on the Houston offense. Stroud looked atrocious. He did not look good. He had a one passing touchdown. He had a fumble. He had a pick. He wasn't looking good, but the rest of his team showed up. Woody Marks ended up having, it was 112 yards and a touchdown, and Christian Kirk had 8 receptions for 144 yards and a TD. It was just enough to get past Pittsburgh because, again, when you put up 6 points, you don't need to do much more. And really, it was, again, just a physical, hard-nosed game from both sides. But, again, the Houston Texans prevailed. I really was, again, surprised that the run game got going so well for the Texans. But, again, that's just what they do. It was a cold environment. You stepped up in the moment. I got to give a credit to that offensive line and Woody Marks for showing up in that big moment. But the real stars of the game were the Houston defense. They held the Steelers to 6 points. The Steelers were 2 for 14 on third down. 4 sacks were allowed, one of those resulting in a scoop and score. That made it 17-6. The game was pretty much over, and then Aaron Rodgers' last pass was a pick 6. It was brutal. It was brutal to watch. I'm not going to lie, man. As an Aaron Rodgers fan, and his potential last game, which is now looking like his last game, to see him just get absolutely beat up like that, last play was a pick 6, it was hard to watch. But again, you got to give credit to Houston. You got to give credit to them. They've been touted as the best defense all year. And again, in a playoff moment, they showed up. They pretty much single-handedly won this game for the team. Yes, the offense did do some scoring here and there, but the defense is really what kept them in the game. And again, the 17-6 score after why am I blanking right now? the scoop and score was just massive. So I want to give a ton of credit to that defense. They sent Rodgers into retirement, and I think we need to have a conversation moving forward now about the Steelers because, again, it's another year of this stuff. Nothing's changing. It doesn't matter if you either miss the playoffs or you make them. It doesn't matter. It's the same result every single year. As I said, the Steelers have had the same result over and over and over again. Since 2017, Mike Tomlin is now 0-7. And again, I asked the question, is it time to move on? I think it's been time. But again, I don't know if the organization is going to want to do it. I think this organization just needs to get nuked. I think they need to strip it down, rebuild. You're never going to be an elite team again because you're never going to be able to acquire the talent unless you just hit on every single draft pick and bring up all these free agents, which you guys don't do anyways. I just don't see how the Steelers can really change anything here. It's just never going to be fixed until, again, you get your franchise quarterback and you really get some, X-factor players that are in the top of the draft. We'll see what happens. And it also looked like it was Aaron Rodgers' last game. If that was his last game, it was unfortunate. It was a great career for him. It just sucked to see him go out like that. And I'm going to miss Aaron Rodgers. I really, really am. Might end up making my own video on him just because he really was that good of a quarterback in my eyes. And I just thought he defined the quarterback position for the 2010s and really part of the 2020s. So it is what it is. But, man, what a way to go out. It sucks. But at the same time, it was due. There was no way this man was, now looking back at it, there's no way this man was going to be playing, getting hit like that again. It just wasn't going to be worth it. All right, that is all I had on this one. Just wanted to talk about all these games. If you made it this far in the video, I greatly, greatly appreciate you. If you like this video, feel free to give it a like. Let me know your thoughts down below on the wild card in the comments. My TikTok will be in the description down below. And stick with me if you enjoy this type of content. I will be continuing to break down the NFL playoffs and the NFL for the rest of the year. So if you're interested, feel free to subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.